Welcome once again to Channel 18, and today our first guest is Lieutenant Kevin Considine. And the first thing we want to do is congratulate him on making lieutenant.
Thank you.
It's only a couple of months, he tells us.
Yep.
So that's very good.
Thank you very much.
And Kevin's going to talk to us about the police academy. So, and I understand that you kind of revamped it a little bit.
Yes, this is the 19th session of the police academy.
Wow, that's a lot.
Yes, yeah, and all this time before Sergeant Jasek was the director of the academy, and I've been fortunate enough to take over after Dave and continue the tradition of our police academy. And it's been a long time. We're again in our 19th session, so it's been going for a long time, and we're very excited about it.
How long is the session?
The sessions are 10 weeks long.
10 weeks?
Yep.
That's quite a long session.
Yeah, we begin September 17th, which is Thursday. We meet Thursday nights from 6 p.m. to 9 p.m.
Yeah. We got to be careful, you know. Joyce went through the
I know. Yeah. I remember that. I remember that. But it's 10 weeks long. We start September 17th. Which is coming up very soon. It's every Thursday night from 6 to 9 p.m. And we end on the 10th week, which is graduation week, is November 19th.
Okay.
So we
just before all the holidays.
Exactly. We make sure we wrap up before the holidays, and so it does not interfere with any holidays.
Very good. So, and what are some of the sessions? Do you want to go through?
Sure. Yep.
That you have there?
I will go through all of them so everybody has a real feel of what we're doing. And the purpose of this academy is to give citizens of Harwich a real insight of what their police department does. It's a great way for us to connect to the citizens, and for them to meet a lot of our force and our officers. On week one, the chief, myself, and a dispatcher, we do an orientation and open remarks and welcome. We do a guided tour of the police station. We give them the history of the department and recruitment, and show them vehicles and equipment. And then the second half of that night is dealing with dispatch and an overview of dispatch and communications.
Okay, that's very important.
That is. That's where all the calls go in, and it's one of the most important parts of the police department. So. The second week, we go over the specialty units of the department, and that includes the motorcycle unit, ATV unit, and mountain bike unit, which this time of year are very busy for us during the summer, and we use those units a lot. The second half of the night, we do a crash class. One of our crash reconstruction specialists, Sergeant Goshgarian, comes in. He talks about motor vehicle law, but also how we investigate motor vehicle accidents. Especially the serious motor vehicle accidents, how we investigate those.
I was surprised to hear that you have a motor vehicle bike. Goes up into the well, there are really no mountains around here.
No.
But, we have hills. And you say that's very busy?
Yes, especially during the summer. We have a lot of conservation land in Harwich, and a lot of sand pits. So our ATV unit is busy patrolling those areas, and handling any complaints that come in, whether it be dirt bikers or other ATV issues. And that unit can get to a lot of places a police car can't get to.
That's true.
So that ATV unit is very important for us, and is the bike patrol. You'll see them a lot down in Harwichport.
Yes, I've seen them.
Yeah. And then the third and fourth week, we've actually broke it up into 2 weeks. It's about drug abuse and identification of drugs and investigations regarding drugs and narcotics. This is probably one of the most important classes, and one of the most classes that somebody gets out of as far as information. Sergeant Brackett teaches our class on drug abuse and identification. He's very knowledgeable in that field, and because there's so much information, so much going on with drug abuse, we've actually broken that down into 2 weeks, which is almost 5 hours of instruction, and those classes are typically long because so many questions, which is great. So we go through that. The next week we deal with criminal investigations, which is our detective unit. And we actually bring our detectives in. We talk about our detective division, and we also bring somebody in from the Barnstable County Bureau of Criminal Identification, which is the CSI people, the CSI type people that you see on TV. And they go over crime scenes and documenting crime scenes, and actually they give class participants a chance to fingerprint some items and learn how to lift fingerprints. So that's usually a really fun class for participants. The second half of that night, our court officer, who's Detective Harris, comes in and talks about the process from when somebody is arrested to when they go to court. And we talk about criminal law, constitutional law, probable cause, search and seizures, Miranda rights, and statutes frequently used by police officers. So those 3 weeks really give an insight of the law aspect of the police department. The next week we get into the use of force, and the first half of the class is dealing with defensive tactics. We deal with OC spray, which is pepper spray, our batons, and our tasers, which we've had for a few years now. So we do a taser class and less than lethal force. And then the second half of that night, we deal with deadly force and firearms issues on that night. The next night, the next Thursday, we added this in this year because we have a great relationship with the Harwich Fire Department.
Oh, good.
And we work very closely with the Harwich Fire Department. And this year I put in what's called joint operations, where a member of the Harwich Fire Department, Officer Sanders, is going to come in and give an overview of critical incident management between the two departments and how we work together during critical incidents. And they do a lot of training for us, and we really have a great relationship with the fire department and help each other out.
That's great.
Yeah. And then the second half of that night, Officer Burns comes in and does his talk on animal control and the many aspects of animal control.
He and I have had a working relationship every 12 years. Every 12 years. We have a hawk that likes to come through my screen porch.
Okay. Yeah. And Jack is very good at what he does and deals with domesticated and non-domesticated animals. So.
And he reminded me of that. And he says, oh, yeah, it's 12 years.
Wrapping up in November, we do a large piece on community policing, which for us at the police department is a very important aspect, and an aspect of the Citizens Police Academy is for us, working with the community. And we go over, we have a community services unit at the police department. We go over that, and we go over neighborhood watch and crime prevention strategies for residents. And then the second half of that, I do a class on managing sex offenders in town. And this is another class that people are quite surprised about, learning how many sexual offenders do live in town.
Wow.
And people are, it opens their eyes to at least, they're allowed to know this information by the law, and we do a whole class on providing that information. So we do a night on that. And then wrapping up week 9, we have an operating under the influence sobriety class, where we pick a couple class participants to come in and drink some alcohol, and then towards the end of the class we show them the live effects on live subjects of alcohol relative to sobriety testing and breath testing. We actually have them blown to the breathalyzer, and the class acts as the police officer. If they're out in the street and they make a car stop of somebody intoxicated, they actually go through every step a police officer would go through in an OUI arrest. So that whole week is just dedicated to that in breath test. Week 10, which is our last week, we just kind of wrap up the academy and talk about the academy, and we have a graduation ceremony where a bunch of the police officers who have taught the class over the 10 weeks have a chance to come in and have some cake and some good times with the participants. So, and then the only other thing throughout the the course is there's a couple optional classes and optional opportunities, one of which we usually do in the middle on a Saturday morning. Our firearms unit brings the class participants out to our range, and they get a chance to fire our handgun and our rifles under instruction. So that's usually a big fun part of the academy for students. And probably the best part of this, from what I hear, is the 4-hour ride-along with a police officer, where participants can sign up for a 4-hour block to ride with a police officer in a cruiser. And that is usually probably the best part of this from what I hear from over the years. And again, it's Thursdays from 6 to 9 p.m. We've actually, it used to be 6 to 8, but we bumped it up an hour because we just have so much information and we get so much class feedback and participation that we added an extra hour to make sure we get everything that we do in 10 weeks. It's a lot, and there's a lot of information, but we try to get everything in 10 weeks of what we do at the police department. And applications are available. Right now we have approximately 11 people signed up, so there's still room. We take up to 25 participants for the class, and applications can be picked up at the Harwich Police Department at the dispatch window. They can be picked up here at the community center, and they can be picked up at the Brooks Library.
It seems to be a very complete course.
Sure is.
I mean,
It sure is.
Almost everything you could think of.
Yes.
You're going to be taught. One thing, I don't know whether you can elaborate on it or not, but it would be the drug situation.
Yeah.
Is that serious in Harwich?
It is. It's serious everywhere. And the opiates in particular, heroin and other opiate drugs, are really changing the way that policing is done. And of course, opiates and drugs and any other drugs really cause other problems.
Yes, they do.
Whether break-ins, car break-ins, home break-ins, stealing from friends and relatives to support their drug habit. And that's why we felt it important to really pick those 2 weeks of just dedicating to the drug problem. And it's everywhere. It's just not, it's not Harwich, it's just not the Cape, it's everywhere. But it's really changed our way of policing in reference to the drugs.
Wow. Well, that's a great program, and I'm surprised you've only got 11 people so far. I thought you might have 25 already.
No, usually they start coming in towards closer to as we get. And I just want to say it's this year where we kind of revamped the whole program. So it's a lot of new stuff. A lot of stuff that hasn't been seen before, so I encourage anybody that has any interest to give me a call. My number at the police department is 508-430-7541, and my extension is 5521. Please give me a call, and we'd love to have everybody attend, and if you have any questions, and I thank you for having me today.
Well, it's our pleasure to have you, and certainly it's a very informative program that you have, and I would encourage anybody to participate in it. Yeah, by the way, has anybody who took the program been young enough to apply for the academy?
Yeah, our age is 18, so anybody from 18 and on can do it. We've never had anybody that went through the program that actually became a police officer in Harwich, but we welcome anybody to come and participate.
Very good. Well, good luck with the program,
Thank
and
you.
I hope you have many more sign up. And future ones, too.
Yep.
Very good.